Thanks for joining us. Some breaking news just into our newsroom. 1 hour ago, the man accused of shooting 5 officers in a Benton County incident yesterday has now been charged. Carl Holmberg is facing 12 charges. 6 of them are first-degree attempted murder of a peace officer. Today, 3 of the officers are still in the hospital, but all of them are expected to survive. Holmberg, who is 64 years old, is also being treated for injuries. Sky 11 was over the scene yesterday. A task force attempted to serve a search warrant on the home in Glen Dorado, just west of Princeton. After shots were fired, that scene turned into a standoff. However, officers were eventually able to take Holmberg into custody. Now the BCA is investigating.
Our agents are working to establish a timeline for how the incident unfolded, who fired and when, and what weapons were used. As part of our preliminary investigation, we are reviewing body-worn camera video of the incident, along with squad camera video and other video that's available to us at this time.
We'll, of course, have more details on the charges and what police say happened throughout the day. Local law enforcement experts tell us officers are always prepared that search warrants can turn dangerous quickly based on the nature of the call. Joe Dutton is a use of force expert who spent 27 years as a Golden Valley police officer. Over those years, he served high-risk warrants as part of a SWAT team. He says the number of officers shot in Benton County is staggering, but he says it's even more surprising that they all survived, considering how those arrests unfold.
The one thing people have to understand is when you are going to conduct a warrant anywhere, you're basically in a fatal funnel when you enter. You're going into their environment, usually not any cover, especially with somebody laying in wait for you, and they got the weapon systems to do you great harm.
Just this year, 13 officers have been hurt in shootings in Minnesota. 11 of them were shot while serving a warrant or responding to a home. Another major story today, of course, is the rain. Here's a peek at the roads and the ramps at 394 and 94. Plenty of wet pavement out there. Ben, you told us it was going to happen. Now we want to know how long it's going to last.
Basically the rest of the day today, Rena. It's probably not until we get to daybreak tomorrow morning before we see the rain actually exit the area. This is a slow-moving weather system, and this is just perfect for the soil, as most of the rain that we're seeing is kind of that steady but more moderate rainfall, not the heavy thunderstorms that would tend to run off. Now, parts of southern Minnesota are seeing a bit of a lull, especially south of Owatonna, down by Albert Lea in the Austin and Rochester area. And a little closer to the Twin Cities, we even have a couple of lightning strikes. Nothing severe expected, but you might have heard a rumble or two out towards Northfield, maybe the Elko New Market area, maybe some brief heavy downpours, but that's going to be about it. Now, as that low continues to turn to our south, the rain will gradually decrease in intensity through the afternoon. So you can see the heaviest rain is expected between now and about 3-4 o'clock. By the time we get into the overnight hours, the rain lingers, but the heaviness will be pretty much done. And we'll talk about when that sunshine will appear with your full forecast coming up, Rita.
All right. Thank you, Ben. And of course, you can keep an eye on the radar anytime with the KARE 11 weather app. It is free in every app store. At least 27 Americans have been killed in the recent violence in Israel. Today, we know one of them is a St. Paul mother. Cindy Flash, a St. Paul native, and her husband, Igal, who was born in Israel, are among the people who were killed in the violence. Their daughter says they had just moved back to a small community in southern Israel. She says men broke into their house and were able to get into a safe room where they were hiding. That's the last time they were heard from. Their daughter says they were good people who fought for the rights of others. In Israel right now, officials are calling for the entire population of northern Gaza to evacuate ahead of a planned ground strike. Hamas leaders are urging them to ignore those calls. As NBC's Raf Sanchez explains, now more than 1 million people have just hours to decide what to do.
Israel's military today issuing an unprecedented evacuation order to Palestinian civilians, telling them to get out of the entire northern half of Gaza. Now, Israel says the area is full of Hamas military sites and that Palestinian civilians need to move for their own safety. But this area is also home to more than 1 million people. There is nowhere for them to run. Gaza's borders are sealed, and the United Nations is pleading with Israel to back down, saying there is no way for that many people to move without dire humanitarian consequences. The death toll continues to rise inside Gaza as a result of those Israeli strikes, while more bodies being found inside of Israel, the aftermath of Saturday's terrorist attack. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is the latest member of President Biden's cabinet to come to Israel. The defense secretary was a senior general before he was a cabinet member. He was responsible for fighting ISIS in Iraq. He said he knows ISIS, he fought against ISIS, but the savagery committed by Hamas terrorists in the south of Israel on Saturday is above and beyond anything he ever saw from ISIS. Raf Sanchez, NBC News, Ashdod, Israel.
The ongoing war has many looking for answers about exactly who is involved in Hamas and how it fits into the history of tensions surrounding Israel. Historians say the group began in 1987, and just 10 years later, the U.S. designated it as a terror organization.
Well, its fundamental belief is that all of historic Palestine rightfully belongs to the Palestinian people and actually to Muslims at large. And therefore, it does not accept the legitimacy of Israel's existence.
In 2007, Hamas gained control of the Gaza Strip over a rival political party. That's left many Palestinians divided between two governments.
Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are also victims of Hamas. So we shouldn't equate Hamas's actions with those of Palestinians or assume that Hamas is acting with the support of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip or Palestinians elsewhere.
Experts say Hamas's call to overtake Israel entirely is something many Palestinians do not agree with. Fences are going up and police departments across the country are preparing for demonstrations after the former chief of Hamas called on Muslims to protest around the world. Yesterday, the White House shared a photo showing focus on homeland security. Other countries are adding protections at Jewish sites in anticipation. However, experts in the U.S. say right now there are no credible threats. In a statement, MPD says they take all threats seriously and are closely monitoring the situation and will respond accordingly. Frustration seems to be growing at our nation's capital today as Republicans in the House find themselves no closer to filling the vacant House Speaker position. A major roadblock in the plan, their nominee for the job, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, has withdrawn his name. He made the announcement last night, just one day after a Republican conference voted for him over Ohio Representative Jim Jordan. Even with the nomination, Scalise was still not getting the 217 votes he needed to win the seat. Now the timeline for the decision is even less clear.
I think it was the right call, and I think we're going to come out of this process stronger, a fighting Republican force.
Today, NBC reports some Republicans are pushing for a plan that would bring Representative Kevin McCarthy back as the Speaker. Others are proposing a plan that would create a leadership team with Jordan and Scalise. New here at noon, unions representing tens of thousands of healthcare employees have reached a tentative deal with Kaiser Permanente. It comes nearly a week after strikes began. Unions have asked for better pay and better staffing in hospitals. A walk-off last week was the largest healthcare strike in U.S. history.